Good night and welcome to Juan Valdez TV News. In today's edition, we're going to talk about the export process we did to be able to send our coffee to Portugal. For the international main role players, we chose these main role players because they offer the best service at the best price. First, we transport our coffee from Bogotá to Cartagena with the company Botero Soto until the port terminal Contecar in Cartagena. Then we use MSC to transport our containers to the port terminal of Leixões in Matosinhos, Portugal. After the coffee is in Portugal, the transport company Gama takes the coffee to the warehouses of our clients. All this taking into account that the freight forwarder that contacted us with the transport, that is UPS, and the custom broker that helped us with the legal process, that is TCC. DIAN is our custom authority that is in charge of controlling the process of export and import. Also, it's important to mention that the product meets all the specifications of the sanitary authorities of the World Health Organization. Talking about our transportation mode. For the transport mode, we're using inland transportation to transport a container already loaded by truck from our company Bogotá to Cartagena, more specifically to the port of Contecar. From there, we're using maritime transportation to transport our commodities until the port of Leixões in Matosinhos, Portugal. And finally, we take our coffee also by inland transportation by truck until the warehouse of our client. We use these transport modes because with this one, we transport amounts of coffee and at the same time do it at a good price, benefiting not only our company but also our clients. Now I'm going to talk about the international logistics costs. It's important to say that for these costs, I'm going to talk in Colombian pesos. First, the price of the commodity is of 50 million pesos, but then we have to add some additional costs that are 2,500,000 for packing, 500,000 for packaging, 9,141,000 for documents, 15 million for transport, 38 million for agents, and 7,700,000 for administratives, what gave us the total of 132,187,000 for the whole operation.
It is also very important to mention the free trade agreement that applies to this exportation, which in this case we're going to talk about specifically the free trade agreement or FTA created in December of 2012, which specifically corresponds to the countries of Colombia and all of the countries involved in the European Union. This is important because in this FTA, coffee is considered to be one of the products that has duty free. Furthermore, we must take into consideration that there was also created a rule of origin, specifically where all roasted coffee beans are considered to be originating only if the coffee has been grown and harvested inside a country that is part of the agreement. Furthermore, in the European Union, there is a reduced quota of a specific type of coffee. This quota corresponds to 120 tons, and it also corresponds to the specific type of coffee called Arabica. This can be considered to be a flexible rule of origin. Last but not least, in order to make this export or import successful, we must take into consideration at all times the HS code that corresponds for roasted coffee, which is 09012100.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to explain the Incoterm, and our Incoterm that we choose was FOB, free on board. For foreign trains, an agreed part of the law in this term is used only when the goods are transported by boat, although in general it is by inland waterways. Our buyer is Novodias Cafe LDA, and they have some obligations. The buyer will have to put in order the custom formalities for the importation of the merchandise, in addition to obtaining any license and the import of official authorization, and obviously has to pay what is stipulated in the contract of sale. If there are extra charges, the buyer must pay taxes and other expenses that may be generated by it. Also, they must contract the transport of the merchandise starting from the port of shipment in Cartagena, Colombia, to the others to receive the merchandise delivery in Matosinhos, Portugal. It will assume all the costs generated during the delivery of the merchandise, such as procedures, freight, or landing from the port. In the case that the seller pays the charge or cost obtained by the documents or charge, the buyer must reimburse the seller. Finally, they have to notify the name, date, and loading point of the shipment, accepting all the requirement tests on the prior. Also, us, Juan Valdez, have some seller obligations. We have to assume all risk of damage or loss of the merchandise until the moment the ship's rails has been exceeded in the stipulated Matosinhos, Portugal. In addition to giving notice when the merchandise has been delivered, is providing all the documentation of the delivery and will pay all the expenses arising from the verification of operation, the required packaging, and will also provide it. The seller will have to supply the commercial invoice and the merchandise and they complies with the sales contract. They must obtain all the export licenses and the other authorization that is required in customs procedures to move the merchandise. In the case of export, they must bear all the custom costs that are necessary. The seller must deliver the merchandise on board the ship that has been designed by the buyer. Finally, the seller, Juan Valdez, also must provide all the documentation facilities about the country or shipment or origin that the buyer may need for the importation of the merchandise and its transit to other countries. Finally, I will explain the conclusions from the project that we as a group give to the exporting coffee from Colombia to Portugal by our company, Juan Valdez. And until 2010, the coffee was the free export item or product until the international prices were too low in the market. And that's why the manager of the Federación Colombiana de Cafeteros proposed to remove the coffee from Wall Street. In this period of time, other products like petroleum, minerals, or drugs become good in the international market. The production of coffee become lower over these years because for some families it isn't the first economic activity. And also, some families that produce coffee become displaced from rural zones. The production of coffee is in charge by the Federación Colombiana de Cafeteros. It is not difficult to export coffee from Colombia to other parts of the world because the Colombian coffee has a lot of expectations and good quality wherever it goes. Juan Valdez is an important brand in the history of coffee, and they have expectations to be in all the world or in the vast majority. Finally, we think that it's a good opportunity because it is the arrival to another country and another culture where there are a different type of market wherever it goes. All the world is different. Also, there are some cons that are some countries like Malaysia, Peru, Ecuador, also Portugal, Spain, have been consolidated in the production of coffee, and they are also good in the international market. And that are our conclusions of our project. Thank you.